We all know intuitive eating and food freedom is really hot right now, and for good reason. And while you might be thinking, okay, we're into the fall, maybe that'll be my New Year's resolution instead of trying to figure it out in the last few months of 2020, stop thinking that way if that's you, because you can literally start anytime, and now is the best time. I know the concept of food freedom sounds so ambiguous, and that's kind of because it is. It's not like you get a bumper sticker when you reach it and you're like, yes, I did it. And that makes it even more complicated to say, okay, how do I actually start doing this? So that's why in this video, I want to give you 5 really actionable steps that you can take to start finding food freedom, to start working towards intuitive eating today. Things that you can do right now. So get ready for those tips. Pick one to start with. Let's do it. And if you guys are watching this video in real time, I have a huge announcement. So enrollment for the society, the membership where I really walk you through steps that you need to take in order to find total food freedom, is open. It's only going to be open for about a week, so do not miss your chance to enroll. Enrollment only happens a couple times a year. I'll put all of the information in the description below. And if you're not watching this in real time, well, make sure you get on the wait list so that you don't miss your next chance. So the first tip that I have for you, the first actionable step, is to actually start. So I know that sounds strange, but so often what happens is we feel like we have to have these quote unquote perfect conditions in order to actually start this journey, and that's just not true. Or we feel like we have to dive in head first, otherwise it's not even worth doing, and I really disagree with that. I think that whatever you can do today, whether that is dive in head first and totally get rid of your food rules, or if it's just dipping your toes and starting to learn more about this or starting to break one food rule, that's what I want you to do today. So if you have this preconceived notion that you have to be at XYZ place, you have to weigh XYZ pounds, you have to, be fully ready to commit to I'm being okay with my weight possibly changing, because let's be honest, you may never get to that point without doing some work before then. It's not like it's just gonna magically happen where you're like, okay, I'm okay with my weight changing. That's something that holds a lot of people back, and know that that's normal as you start to go through this process. So that's why I'm here to help guide you through, okay, how do we take that and still make some progress in this? Because conditions are never gonna be perfect. That's kind of just life. So the first thing you can do is to say, I'm doing it. Like I said, whether you dip your toes in or whether you dive in head first, it's totally fine. Do not compare your journey or your starting point to someone else's, because your journey's unique, it's yours, and it really doesn't matter where anyone else is starting. It just matters that you start. The second actionable thing that you can do today is start to give your body enough energy. Start learning to listen to your hunger cues. So as you go throughout the day, ask yourself, okay, how is my hunger? When do I get hangry? Because we want to start identifying those points and be able to kind of fix them, right? To be able to start giving your body the energy it needs. Maybe you notice that by dinner time, you are starving. That means you might need to be giving your body more energy earlier in the day. Try to identify places where you might be skimping or holding back on actually allowing yourself to eat to satiety, and work to break that. Work to actually honor your hunger. This is like step 1 of what you need to do. And I always say work on your hunger before you focus on the fullness piece of it, because our hunger is a lot more primal and it's going to be a lot more reliable for you to be able to listen to, rather than the fullness can get kind of tricky because it can be clouded with, so much different taste hunger. Do you just like the taste of it? Emotional eating, that's a little bit more tricky. So today, just start with the hunger piece. Don't even necessarily worry about focusing on hunger and fullness, just focus on the hunger. And that hunger, being able to get in tune with that, is going to help you start to understand your fullness, because when we start to understand our hunger, we're going to avoid those extremes. So we're going to avoid getting super hangry, which likely leads us to being super full after we eat. Because when we start a meal super hungry or a snack, we are way less likely to actually listen to our fullness cues, because we're just kind of shoveling it in, right? So today, just focus on that hunger and honoring it. Give your body enough food. The third thing that you can do is to work on breaking your food rules. So what you can do today is make a list of all of your food rules. And what I mean by food rules are any external reasons for your food choices that you are sticking to. So for instance, is there certain times that you feel like you have to have a snack at? Or are there certain foods that you deem as good or bad? Or are there certain ways that you go about comprising a meal? Like, I have to have XYZ to complete a meal. What are these food rules that you're sticking by? Or like I said, the foods that you're avoiding, or the foods that you feel like you feel safe eating, and the foods that you don't. I mean, there's a million food rules here, so really just kind of think about what your criteria is for your eating style and really what those limitations are. Now, what I recommend doing with this is to take those food rules and order them easiest to break to hardest to break. And then what I want you to do is just start with breaking that first food rule, the easiest one. Don't worry about tackling them all at once. It's not bad to break your food rules all at once, but again, know that it's okay to start where you feel comfortable. And if you start with that one just simple food rule to break, you're going to gain momentum as you go, and you're going to gain confidence. This is just kind of a way to dip your toes in the water so you don't feel all of this all or nothing thinking that a lot of times we have. It's okay to start slow and work at your own pace. This is really what worked for me and what works for a lot of the girlfriends in the society. You'll notice that after you break your first food rule, then you can move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. And then you'll likely notice that it snowballs. So you might start to break a couple at a time because you're gaining confidence in yourself and you're gaining confidence in the process. But the first thing to do is just make that list, order them, and break them. Don't feel like you have to overwhelm yourself in order to start this process. It is not all or nothing. I want you to work at a pace that's comfortable for you. The fourth thing that you can start doing today is to practice having non-distracted meals. So what I mean by this is when you sit down for lunch, when you sit down for dinner, practice focusing on that meal. That means closing your laptop, that means turning the TV off, that means giving the kids an activity to occupy themselves if you just need some time to focus. If this sounds like a really big struggle for you, I want you to identify what is the distraction that you're experiencing. Is it that you feel like you have to check your emails as you're working? Is it, like I said, kids are distracting you? Identify what it is that's keeping you from doing these non-distracted meals, and then make a plan to handle that. So whether that means coming into work 5 minutes earlier so that you can check your emails and then eat your breakfast, that might be what you need to do. Whether it's going on Pinterest and looking for different activities for your kids to do to occupy them so that you can actually focus on your meal, do that. Make a plan, execute it. What these non-distracted meals are going to allow you to do are, well, there's a couple things. So the first thing, you'll be able to more likely identify when you've reached satisfaction because you're not splitting your brain power, right? And you can also identify what is it that is satisfying you. So is it that you really love the crisp crunch of your salad? Or is it that you love the warm gooiness of the pasta? What are the aspects of that meal that really help you to feel satisfied? Was it a meal that had carbs in it and those carbs help to keep you satisfied and full? That's definitely something to take note of. Having your meals be non-distracted really just kind of helps you observe what's happening. Observe what foods make you feel full, what foods don't, what foods taste good, and what foods don't. One thing that I hear so often is that we go through life eating certain foods that we think we like because diet culture has told us they're quote unquote good, but when we actually take the time to focus on them, we realize they're not that good. And that goes for both the quote unquote healthy foods and the quote unquote unhealthy foods. For me, one of those was those like Loft House cookies. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the ones that are like super like pillowy soft and they have the frosting on top. I thought I loved those. But then when I actually took note of them and actually listened to what satisfied me, I didn't love the taste. On the flip side, I don't love kale. I forced myself to eat kale for so long. I'm very picky about it and typically don't like kale because it kind of to me just tastes like earth, not in a good way. So it's really eye-opening when you have these non-distracted meals, not only for the foods that you like and don't like, but also listening to your fullness and your satiety. It starts with actually paying attention. And the fifth tip that I have for you is to find support. Guys, this is so key. You do not have to go through this process alone. Trust me, it can feel very isolating. That is one of the reasons that I really created the society, is because when I I was going through this, I had no one to talk to. This was like way before intuitive eating is what it is now, and I felt very alone. I mean, bless my husband, he always supported me, but he just he couldn't relate. I mean, he wasn't necessarily going through what I was going through. Whereas in the society, there's so many other girlfriends who are going through the exact same thing that you are, and we support each other all the way. Like I said, you could find support in the society, or just find someone else close to you, a friend, a family member that you can talk to, that you can say, you know what? I just broke a food rule. Go me. Or that you can say, today's really tough and I need some support, because that's what allows this to keep going, because there are going to be great days and there are going to be crappy days, and having that support just allows you to keep making that progression when we sometimes want to just retreat back into our comfort zone of dieting. So go ahead and leave a comment with which of those that you are going to try today. Is it non-distracted meals? Is it just finding support? Is it focusing on giving your body enough energy? Just pick one thing and start there. And if you are looking for more guidance on how to actually reach the point of finding food freedom, then I want you to go ahead and I'll put it all in the description how to become a member of the society. It's, oh guys, it's an amazing, amazing group. And I walk you through all of the steps that you need to take in order to finally get rid of all of your food rules and say, I never have to diet or restrict food again. It's so good. Let me know if you have any questions on that. And if you're wondering, I still don't know where to start, don't worry, I made a super easy and fun quiz for you to take that's going to tell you really what you need to focus on. So I'll link to that in the description as well for you, and I hope that just really helps to guide you. And no, guys, you do not need to wait until the conditions are perfect or wait until the new year to start. You can start today, and I really, really hope you do. And with that, I will see you guys next Sunday with another video. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe to the channel. It really helps me to create more videos for you guys. See you later.